Hocam,
Benim hoca nerede? Ben girdim de öğrenciler yazıyor, ses gelmiyor diyor. Burada görmemiştim. Arayayım mı? Benimki, ben açtım.
Okey, tamam. Okey, o zaman yeni baştan anlatayım bari. Daha iyi olur. Anybody hears me? Do you hear me? Sorry.
Duyuyoruz hocam.
Give a voice. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Now, let's start again. Excuse me for this interruption. Now, we are going to continue from where we stopped and talking about the microscopic change of enamel. Let me have a bigger magnification for you. Yes. Typical smooth surface lesions have been divided for descriptive purposes into a number of different zones. These are surface layer, body of the lesion, dark zone, and translucent zone. Surface layer appears relatively unaffected in the initial lesion compared with the other subsurface zones. This layer is approximately 30 microns thick. This is the histological section of the initial stage of the dental enamel caries. You see the surface layer in here, and there is a great loss of calcium phosphates. Here is the body of the lesion. This is the dark zone, and this is the translucent zone. Sometimes you will be able to see it, but in some histological sections cannot. But we're going to explain about it. Histologically, this layer is fairly distinguished from the body of the lesion. The physical and chemical investigations show that partial demineralization, a small demineralization, about 8% loss by volume, has taken place in surface layer, even if it seems unaffected. This layer is not specific caries. Layer like this cannot be observed if histological sections are prepared from an unerupted tooth. That means this layer is acquired after the eruption. Let us assume that you extract a tooth and you would like to investigate the histological section of the dental enamel under the light microscope. Everything is okay? Is it okay? I hope so. That means that this layer is acquired after the eruption. Yes. Let us suppose that you extract a tooth and you try to investigate the histological section of the dental enamel. You always see a surface layer on the external region of the dental enamel because after the eruption, the precipitation of calcium and phosphate ions creates this surface layer. And you will always see a surface layer, and this layer is not specific to caries. And it is acquired after the eruption. Coming to the body of the lesion, it is the largest and the most demineralized zone of the region. It has indicated a reduction of 24% in mineral per unit volume compared with sound enamel. Of course, 24% is an abundant amount of reduction for dental enamel. The striae of Retzius lines are enhanced in this region. Separate demineralization centers are observed in this area. If Retzius lines are enhanced in this region, this shows us that Retzius lines is important for the initiation of dental enamel caries or the progression of the dental enamel caries. So this is the surface layer. You saw this photograph again, and this is the body of the lesion. Let us continue then. Surface layer appears relatively unaffected in the initial lesion, but minor pathways existing in the surface layer is thought, and they may be the endings of striae of Retzius that reach to the outer surface of enamel. Now, last week, we were mentioning about the Retzius lines, and I talk about these Retzius lines are the hypocalcified and hypomineralized regions in dental enamel. I'm going to show you again, just to remember these Retzius lines. And you see these are the enamel prisms. This photograph is for remembering. And these are Retzius lines. And remember that here is the external surface of dental enamel, and here is the approximately this region, sorry. This region is the dental enamel junction. And you will also remember that ameloblasts secretes the organic matrix of enamel and run into the dental of enamel to reach the outer surface. And again, approximately after they work, they should rest because they are tired. They should rest. When they are resting, they do not secrete the organic matrix, or they secrete very less organic matrix. And at the end, after the skeleton the calcium phosphate precipitation occurs, and this regions stays as hypomineralized and hypocalcified regions, and these are Retzius lines. Of course, these Retzius lines at the end comes to the outer surface enamel, and there's a small point, or there's a small notch in here, which is less calcified. And of course, these are the regions, or these are the notches that is not resistance against the acids. So when an acid comes upon the dental enamel, then these acids could go into the dental enamel by using these pathways, and the dental acids could spread into the enamel in 3 dimensions. I believe you remember this. But the clarification of Retzius lines gives an impression about these structures might have a role for acid spreading. We say that the acid spreading is related to Retzius line, but how can we prove? And here is the proof. This is the histological section of the initiation of dental enamel caries. You see this surface layer. This in here you see it a white line. Of course, this is a different technique of photograph, so you won't be able to see the translucence or dark zone, but here is the body of the lesion. And you see the Retzius line in here, and Retzius lines are being clarified at the beginning of the dental enamel caries. And this shows us, and we think that these Retzius lines plays a role for the spreading of the acids into the dental enamel at the very beginning by these clarification. You see in the photographs, especially you see these Retzius lines are being clarified in these photographs. So we think that they play a role for the spreading of the acids into the dental enamel. When coming to the dark zone is a common feature of the caries lesion, and an average reduction of 6% per unit volume has been reported for enamel sampled from the dark zone. This layer can be detected 85% of the caries lesions. When the lesion advances rapidly, then dark zone becomes thin, but otherwise it appears thicker. Now, this is another technique